So let's just do one. Darkness and light, Yawasi. Darkness and light, Yawasi. Darkness and light, Yawasi. Darkness and light, Yawasi. And I keep getting this image of an angel with two wings. You know, one is holding the darkness, the coming into the form of flesh and blood, and one is holding the Basit Allah, this expansive, this subtle realm of our being. So we wanted time for each of you to be able to share the gifts, the openings, the deepening,
the awarenesses
that are opening for you, and also to share the constrictions, the difficulties that are opening too, so we can share our wasi.
So our own personal darknesses and light around this practice and what it's brought up for us.
Great. Rebecca, hi.
I think, yeah, today felt well, it was difficult to come today. My body was tired. I didn't sleep well last night, and it was difficult feeling into my body at first, which I know is part of the practice, is feeling both when it's feeling good and not good. And I'm glad I stuck with it because it felt very integrative today. The last couple sessions have kind of built on this theme of, oh, there's not constriction isn't negative. And there's these new sensations I have now where I'm able to go with feeling constriction in my body that is leading to I'm feeling the constriction and the expansion. And what it feels like happened today was just increased blood flow, which was kind of what was happening last session too. It was to a new place in my body, but just how I've been so resistant to that for so long because I hate that feeling of something getting tighter, that I kind of go around it, or I avoid it, or I go for something else that feels good. So I'm just really deeply appreciating that permission to move towards that constriction and try to stay with it. I've really been seeing what a gift that is and how healing that is with the bow.
That's beautiful. And so I have a question when you're talking about...
I just want to do one thing before you... Yes. I just thought of our celebrations. I really want to celebrate, Rebecca, everything you're saying. I mean, we really want to celebrate our insights and even be able to speak our difficulties, but I really want to celebrate that you came today anyway. Because that's such an incredible taking your learning into action. And then you could feel the integration, because so often when a part's up or that, we go, oh, I can't do that, or it's too much. That's the time we need community and we need support from high self and from each other. So real celebration there. Yeah.
Absolutely. And what I was connecting to is what I think you were speaking about, is that what made it hard to come is there's some kind of an overlay on what it means about denseness. And that's curious to me. It's like, oh, it's kind of like another interesting piece to chew on, and what that means that it becomes something bad. I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, but it sounds like that was all connected in, that you did it anyway, which is wonderful, but you also can see that there's something about how some parts inside hold denseness, what it means, what it's going to happen, or whatever. And
I think my automatic response is to just go so far away from it so quickly and get so busy and go just like as far away as I kind of can. So really like separate from my body kind of complete. It's like almost a disassociation that happens so quickly, right? I think that's the old habit. And so it feels like there's a sense of like I'm in the flow, but what I'm doing is kind of floating as opposed to like being in myself.
That's great.
And I was
Yeah.
really comfortable in the floating before. I was like, I got this. I can do the whole day like this. And there was this tension of I'm also exhausted. Like that's also extremely exhausting. So then as soon as I like come in, that's the first thing I feel is exhaustion. And then I still don't want to go into that. And then it's like, it's just like these layers of, I might have used this metaphor before of like when the blood rushes into a limb where it's been asleep and it's just so uncomfortable. Feel the sensations coming back. So that's always like kind of the process for me starting this group every time in a sense, but it was big this time. So I was aware of kind of how I was out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And you can
Thank
see
you.
from that part's perspective, some cells and they're dissociating away. And so hopefully they're learning. But I think it was so beautiful when you shared too, Rebecca, that then there's a price paid for that. It feels like you're floating. There's a subtle spiritual bypass. There's a subtle dissociation and moving away. And you didn't, I don't think you know it, you named it, there's an exhaustion at the end of the day. So when we push things away, that's effort. It takes energy, whether it's physically or emotionally or psychologically or spiritually. Yeah.
And I just want to invite that there is that dissociation that you spoke to. That's a form of the darkness that actually feels very light, right? It's like that because it's like you're not present, right? So it's kind of like that hollowness. It's like something's not there, something's missing. And so that part inside that is dissociating needs to be attended to.
Yeah.
So that's the part that feels like it's like you don't understand yet why it's dissociating, why it's so afraid of the denseness of being in the body. And that would be a helpful, because it's kind of like when something's happening over and over again, you can go over it, and that's a really helpful piece because that'll help you to be able to see the larger picture, which is what you did today. And then after you do that, you can come back and invite in the dissociating one and find out what is so scary. What do you think? How do you think you're protecting me with this dissociating? What are you protecting me from? Those kinds of things, because that's what I'm hearing is that that's the piece that's still asking to be listened to.
Right. Yeah. And I always like to ask those parts if they're aware of me, and if so, how old they think I am. Because often they're dissociating because they think I'm 4 or 5 and can't protect, I don't know. So, but that's worthy of exploration on your own, or if you need support from one of us too, that would be, yeah. Whew.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, yeah.
And anything, which I didn't say to you, Rebecca, but you can certainly chime in at any time too. And if there's anything that you want to say to finish in terms of the, our time together, in terms of even the embodied deepening and how if that has been for you, or anything that you would have liked
To come
differently,
to
or
completion for today, as our teacher Radha used to say.
Yes.
Malik.
A lot to say, but I'm going to try to get
Summarize
to
it.
I'm going to essence it because there's a lot and I don't have to go into all of it. So I just want to say that I've been working on going into relationship with more people. Specifically, I'm trying to find connection with other guys who are right for me. And the process I've been going through has been really challenging and difficult. And I've encountered more obstacles than I was prepared for, I would say, but it's stretched me, and I have more capacity and more understanding of what I want, what I'm going towards, and being able to allow the darkness and the light was integral to that. It is integral. It's ongoing. Um, and learning that the darkness doesn't mean bad or horrible, you know, and there's this overlay in our culture, it seems to be placed there a lot. So I started with that, and I was able to let it go. And I'm not looking for a relationship right now because there were so many things that came up. I'm like, well, okay, I'll work on this. I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on this. But it it ended up being kind of a distraction at the same time. Like I kept focusing on it, and it was pulling me away from my other life duties. Like it was like in the work-life balance, it was taking up too much life, too much in that. And then I'm like, oh, what about work? What about taking care of myself? And so I'm having to come back and like rebalance, re-equalize the two and make sure they're both on a healthy level. And I will reemerge, maybe not right now, but I will reemerge with greater understanding, having leveled up a few times, and you know, just continuing to be more clear with what I'm wanting and what I'm seeking, and being okay with being rejected, being put down by others, being like trivialized, discarded, ignored, rejected, all that stuff is like information for me now for like, oh, well, you know, one of the things I've learned is like, good thing I didn't get attached to this particular arrangement with this particular person because it would have been worse had I formed like an attachment with them. So it's all like insights and like showing me giving me an opportunity to make choices and to you know, make choices towards more of what I'm looking for and wanting. So this I've been doing that through this whole exploration of darkness and light, and thank you for Yaya and Raphael for holding the container, and thank you everyone for being there when I'm sharing the ups and downs that's just inevitable with something like this. So thank you.
So I want to celebrate that you're actually going out and letting yourself pursue relationships, because that's a huge, huge step for you. And very, very happy about it. And I also want to ask if you have a clarity of where is the darkness in your own body. So I hear that you feel, that there's darkness and light in the pursuing of the relationship, but it's like when we talked about today, what is that darkness that you feel inside you, and what's the lightness and those awarenesses? It sounds like you have more of awarenesses outside of what it's like to pursue it, that it's not easy. But what about some of the awarenesses of your own darkness and light inside?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Especially as it has to do with the attachment system, because that's what you're exploring, attachment, whether it's forming friendships or a close connection. So what's the darkness and light in your body around attachment specifically?
Yeah, thank you. I noticed that I was trying to summarize more than going deeper. So thank you for asking me to go a little deeper. Um, I'm gonna try to answer Yaya's first, and then Raphael, I'm gonna try to go to your deeper inquiry. It's in my genitals still. It's in the hara, and I didn't mention this, but I actually was able to experience a pleasurable experience with another person and like relax enough and feel safe enough to actually like let it happen, and it was amazing. So even if it happened once, I was successful. So I'm holding that like, yay, I got there. um and as far as the attachment goes, um I guess I'll just say what's arising. The the transmission or the message that I'm feeling inside, and that is, this is really important to me. I want this.
Mm.
So there's this conflict of, we're not supposed to get attached. Like there's this idea of like, attachment is not great. And then I come back with, but wait a minute, it's something I want. This is something I want. So I am attached, but I'm aware that my attachments might need to be held, and inquiries about them might need to come up once in a while to see if, am I overly attached? It's fine for me to want it, but the other person doesn't have to. And I'm trying to work on that, like letting that be true too. But I want it, I desire it, I hunger for it. So I'm not giving up. I'm attached to my part of it. Um, but I'm still challenged when I don't feel it, something like it coming back. I don't feel a reciprocation. I am challenged. I can get angry. I can shame and blame. And that's familiar. I notice those patterns, but I'm so grateful because noticing the pattern and noticing like, oh, I know what this is. I know what to do with it. So thank you again.
Yeah, it just feels so much. And I really want to celebrate that you're getting in touch with that longing and desire for human connection and relatedness. And also you're aware of the parts that get hurt. And you said something, I'm taking a little step back, but I'm not giving up on it. So you're holding that more and more, it feels like, really to me. So that's a real celebration. Yeah.
Thank you.
Ooh. And one other tiny little thing, in my Peruvian current studies, from the lowest at the root chakra, that's where the life energy is. That's Kausa. Above that, right as we get into the navel area and the second chakra, is the sexual energy. So it's important for you, I think, I get intuitively, to separate out this vital life force and sexuality. They're so close, but they're a little different, just as the heart center, different too. But just to be aware there's a vitality in you, and then there's sexuality and sexual vitality. So just feel the root, and then above it, the second, and then the heart. Yeah.
And I think, Malik, you spoke earlier in one of the classes that there was a sense of absence or hollowness in the genitals, I believe. And so that would be part of what you're experiencing around the denseness of that is that when there's an absence of something, it's telling us that there's some, there's almost, you could say there's a wound that's hollowed us out.
Yeah.
And so we want to keep going into what is that about and be curious about that. And that you could feel intense pleasure there is wonderful.
Yeah.
So that's like you were letting more come in.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yahoo.
Real briefly there. Thank you. Yeah, that's so brilliant. Like that I found out like there was absence, but now I know, now I've experienced a little bit more. It was full of silence. It was full of nothing. And then when I went in there, when I let it, fill up with that silence, and then I gave myself permission to create a safe space. I had to create a safe space before it showed up completely. And so it was waiting for me to spend care and attention to try to actually be the one that holds that part of me. Like it couldn't be someone else. I had to do it. So that's what it was waiting for. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Celebration.
Yay.
Yeah. Wow.
I want to jump in and say thanks for sharing, because what I love about this is there was just like another level for me that I became aware of in just when you were speaking, Yaya, of that hollowness and that wounding, that there's also a place in me that I've been working on, and that was so helpful. And I just really appreciate when everybody shares. I just get so much echoing, hearing, and so thank you for sharing.
And we learn so much when we share together this way. It blows my mind. Yeah.
What do you think? Because it's all very activating in a way. It's very, and so there's two things that I could share about. I feel like in my outer life, in my outer life, I'm feeling integration and ability to be more deeply related and all kinds of things. So, but also more vulnerable. I'm also, yeah, there's a lot going on. But in the actual times here, there's two things. One is what I took away from this session with you, Yaya, and that was that I discovered the manager. I discovered the manager, and I discovered the kind of this relationship between the manager in my brain and, like her whole thing is to understand and teach everybody everything and whatever all that is. It's like self-management. And that was pretty wild to just feel self-management as a protector. And then the one that was proclaiming things I wanted, but felt very helpless to ever make anything happen. I mean, it was sort of like, so there was this triangle. There was the manager protector, there was the proclaimer, um, helpless one, really, very young and very much trying to actually take care of all the other young ones, you know, trying to protect from the deep ones that had no voice. I'll just say what I want it to be and pretend like it's so, or something like that. Anyway, it was a very powerful, very, very powerful. And I noticed where they live in me, and I noticed a whole realm of feeling that I hadn't noticed before. So I've been sort of working with those pieces, not proclaiming anything about it and not trying to manage anything. I've stopped voice that was like, well, this is what it's all about, honey, and I'm here for you. And oh my God, I have a manager as big as the ocean. So that was just really wild. So, but that didn't
I
come.
want to just pause you. That's an amazing statement. I have a manager as big as the ocean. I think many of us can resonate with that. That's like, I've never heard anybody put it that way. That's perfect. I love that.
Anyway, so that's like, welcome to my own soul work. So anyway, because I think this entire thing with you guys is exactly some level that I'm on because I'm not doing with any, you know what I mean? I'm here to get it myself and do it here. And so today I had this experience, and so maybe I would work with that a little bit if that could be okay with timing. I So it was in the breath. It was in the breath. And I remembered it's like inside my lung, there is this dark spot that I just remember in the middle of COVID and in the middle of a fire in Ashland here. It's like I was in a really hard place because I was so constricted and I was taking care of people, and it was very difficult time to be a therapist, also to be myself, also to live where I was living. And I had a person in the front of the house that I felt responsible for. And there were just a lot of, so anyway, I just remember a moment of being almost self-destructive. And it was something I breathed in. It was rated 500 outside, and I went outside anyway. And I just remembered it was almost self-destruction, you know? So today, that's what came when we were doing the dark and the breath, that memory came. And I remembered how that was like a death wish or something in a kind of odd way. And then when I stayed with it, and it was in the back of the lung, and it was just this deep, dark thing. And when I stayed with it, it felt like it was calling. I happen to know that there's a channel between your lung and your heart, from Tibetan stuff, right? So anyway, it was like calling to this channel, like to open and turning my heart, it was like a little bit of, I don't know if it was management or not, but that's what I did. And today I stayed and I realized that it was the spine. I didn't feel support behind me, and that in this place was the dark place of the lung that was near the spine or something. I don't even know, but it was in that part of my body. And then I just called from it, and I don't know really what actually happened. I saw the image of a turning, like of a turning to the light of the heart, or the love of the heart, or the whatever. I felt like there was something trying to answer, but it wasn't quite hooked up yet. but but I learned a lot, so that's what happened. And I stayed with it, and I learned a lot, in that there was the spine. I just learned about the support and the lack of it, and something that wanted, to reach something. But so that I don't know how to go forward with anything else except that moment and what happened.
Hmm. Right. So just come into your breath right now.
Yeah.
And just, I want to bring you back
Yeah.
into what you spoke about earlier, which is that a lot of awarenesses have been opening up, and it's hard to not want to make them become something right away, into some kind of a, hardened thing of this is what I'm doing. But that wonderful image you have, my manager is as big as the ocean. So just, if you could just be with that for a moment, I feel like that is the key to what you're describing right now, is to let yourself imagine for a moment that you're floating in the ocean and there's nothing to do and there's nowhere to go. Right? So that manager may be as big as the ocean, and so it kind of can take over.
But you're floating in
But
the
you're
ocean.
floating
You're not
in the
drowning
ocean.
or sinking in the ocean.
Right? And so it's really key to what you're talking about even right now, because I can hear how you start to get flooded with a lot of, with that.
There's so much
Desire.
insight and awareness coming, and desire, and there's that, it's like an ocean tide. It's going to unfold in its own time, in its own space. It's letting the manager know this is unfolding.
Yeah.
That was intuitively amazing, because one of my deepest, most powerful experiences in this lifetime was floating in a stream of blue light in the ocean. And it was just a total streaming vertical enfoldment. And in this moment, I feel like your words actually, I can give the manager to the ocean. Yeah. Anyway, thank you. Oh God, that's really, I can breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This manager is trying to hold you, hold all the little ones, and there's this archetypal manager, this guidant, this ocean.
Yeah.
The ocean of devotion.
The ocean. Yeah, and that's also what I want to celebrate. There's an ocean of devotion in you, and that's what you're describing, is that sense of, really, it's focusing all the energy, all the selves into really wanting to understand. And what it is that's arising, in your lung and in your heart. It's like so beautiful, because it's like I really, again, kind of like what I spoke to with Rebecca, rather than kind of come to a healing, I really want there to be an understanding about that denseness, that little speck in the lung, right? It doesn't need to be changed or done away with. It needs to be understood and accepted and loved, and then we'll see what happens.
And sometimes when things are really, really stressful and the managers don't see any way out, some of them think about leaving or exiting the planet. They don't actually want to die. They're so frazzled, they don't know what else to do. So that's the difference with the way we look at that from a soul work perspective and an IFS perspective. It's like it's a extreme manager. It's like, I'll go and yeah, and that was a lot that time, as many times are. But that's where we're learning to hold these. Wasi. Thank you so much. Beautiful. We could feel, here it is. There's a process unfolding. And something's opening here. And it's going to just do it in its own time and its own way. Whew. Beautiful.
I'll just say one other thing in what you have said, Raphael, once about putting all your cells in crystals and having them be held. Well, I just had this flash of all the cells in the manager and the proclaimer and the floating, like they can all just float in that ocean.
Yeah.
They'll all just float in that.
That's right.
So that is so beautiful because everybody can take all the time they need, and voices can erupt whenever they, or share whenever they do. And anyway, thank you. It's very beautiful. That was just beautiful. And also my heart's here too. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And then there was Howard.
It's not like we have this huge group and we can't find who's next.
It's hard when you have a lot of people. There's like, who's spoken, who hasn't spoken. She tracks it so well. I'm like,
Yeah. I appreciate all of what you guys are sharing. It informs so much in me also. So thank you. Today was a challenging day for me in that I was just having trouble getting into the practice, and the picture I had just a moment ago was of like a spaceship trying to re-enter the atmosphere, and if they don't get the angle right, they just bounce off. And so that was me for about half an hour, just bing, 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 bouncing off. But enough got through that, yeah, it was, when you were talking about the holding the darkness and light together, and the symbol that I ended up with was a yin yang symbol, and it was kind of turning a little bit, and it was very cool. It was buoyant and resilient. And you said, what sound does it have? And it was saying who. So that was cool. It was a great question because right away I knew what. And the thing I wrote down was neither is true by itself.
wow.
Neither perspective is true by itself. Both perspectives. And there's a thing about what a couple other people talked about not being real excited about the darkness side and being a manager. And yeah, there's kind of a cleanup on aisle 9. Go, ooh, there's a darkness thing. We gotta get this cleaned up real fast. And there's a part of me that's pretty good at doing that and gets exhausted, and it's depleting, and it's not necessary. And so I'm getting slowly going, oh, I hear that that's your temptation, and that's okay. There was a thing where someone was saying something about mistrust, or I felt a thing of mistrust from the little selves, and the song that came up was "You Won't See Me." It was just singing it, "You won't see me, dun 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 dun," and going, yeah, well, maybe I will. I hear that's your perspective, and it doesn't. Yeah, maybe even not today, but you don't get to promise about the rest of the life. Yeah.
So Howard, I want to invite you, if you're willing, to go back to that moment with that beautiful image of this spaceship and begin to bring your curiosity instead of this as an obscuration. If you want right now, going back to that moment going, there's some bouncing off happening here. What selves are present? What's happening right? Instead of there's something wrong, something's being revealed. What happens if if I invite you to just drop back there you are, it's like, who's here? What's happening here? See if you could just open to that for a moment and see what happens. Bringing the past into the present right now.
Well, the word possibilities comes up because I was looking at it in a linear way.
Right. Some part of
Right.
you is looking at it in a linear way.
Mhm.
As opposed, this is
Right.
an opportunity. There's a possibility here. So let the word possibility be there. Come back to this, the first bit of time, 20 minutes or whatever, you keep pinging off. It's like, if I'm just curious about this, what's the experience like? And are there parts here? What's the energy like?
What's happening in the body?
What's happening in the body? With
Because-
this ping, ping.
Yeah, because when you're talking about it, it's like even the information you're giving is coming close to the body. It's like coming close to something that could reveal, but then it doesn't let you stick. So whether it feels like an armoring or whatever it is, like begin to understand what's actually happening in the body itself.
And it felt like for some self, the entry had to be just right, right? So some self is like, this isn't right in the body. It's going to push off again, just staying with that.
Well, I do notice that there's a not good enough when I bounce off. So there's a self who's like, you aren't good enough to get through, a judging self. And so when you're inviting curiosity instead, that's
See if
really
you could just
essential.
ask that judging self to step aside. If not, we can give that one a little attention and see what's happening in the body as you're coming back in again then.
As I'm coming back in,
To your body right now and then. You bounced off and then it's like not good enough. Just step aside. I'm bouncing off. Smiling. What's it like in the body to bounce off?
yeah, my jaw tightens. Right there.
Good.
Like redouble my effort.
So you bounce
Okay.
off, it's not good enough, and then some part redoubles the effort. So let's invite that one to say, let's change our inquiry. Rather than going in, let's just be curious about, the bouncing off. We don't need to redouble the effort. Let's just notice the bouncing off.
I think we got to go with the effort.
Okay, you go.
That's my sense, is that you've got too many, there's a lot of protectors coming up to go towards what the bouncing off is. So when you have a bunch of protectors like that, you want to go with the protectors. So why don't you start with what you said, you're redoubling your efforts. Go back into that tension in your jaw. And see if you can just notice, wow, now I'm feeling some of the darkness. This is the dark energy. I can feel it, the tension in the jaw. So there's an awareness, there's a larger part of you being conscious of this dark energy of the tension. Nothing good or bad about it. And you're just, so what you want to do is just ask that tension, wow, I can see it's really important for you to get through and to be good. Can you tell me more about that? Why is that so important?
Well, do that self, it's important because that's his job. That is his one job. So,
Wonderful. So you're doing such a great job, and I appreciate it. And at the same time, I'm so curious, what do you think that you're providing by doing this job?
I'm asking him, what does he think he's providing?
By pushing all the time to try to make things work. Pushing through.
Abe Lincoln said, if I had 4 hours to cut down a tree, I'd spend 3 hours sharpening the axe.
Mm.
And so what he's doing is whacking at a tree with a very dull axe.
But what does he think he's going to get out of it? What's he
He's just
protecting?
What's he gonna do?
He's just locked in.
And if he doesn't do this, what is he afraid is going to happen? If he doesn't just keep going with the axis, he's just got to do it, I hear. What's he afraid is going to happen if he doesn't do this?
I'll disappear.
Wow.
Staying with the spaceship thing, I will float off and not come back.
Ask him if he's aware of you, and if so, how old he thinks you are.
Okay, so I'm asking him if he's aware of me, meaning
Howard, conscious self.
conscious self. Thank you. His first answer is no.
Yeah. Just let him know. I hear you. Keep going because you're so afraid. You're afraid you're going to disappear into nothingness. See if you can introduce yourself to him. Because he's not aware you're there. He's all by himself and he's got to get through. He's going to float off into space, into nothingness and disappear. Wow.
Kind of tapping him on the shoulder, trying to get his attention.
Just let him know you're there and he can notice you when he's ready.
Okay.
So we don't have to make it happen, right? With things like this, it's like E.T. He just befriended the alien. He just waited. He put out the M&Ms. You can't rush it. This one is very alone and knows he's alone and it's all by himself, and if he doesn't make this effort, he's going to float off into space and disappear. So you're just bringing in high self with you and you're just being there with him. You can even say you're so scared of disappearing. So he's hearing maybe this little voice, but you can't force this.
Right, right.
That's more of the same.
Right, exactly. So yes, wow.
Yeah.
Really, really terrified and exhausted and still showing up.
Yeah.
Wow. I see what you are doing and that you're showing up and trying and trying and trying.
What's happening?
When you said
Ah.
that.
Yeah. So that's a good sign that he's in contact with you now.
A little bit.
Yeah, that's what you say.
He's made, yeah. Oh, brother. Just Zoom AI stuff coming up, I don't know.
So I would invite you, Howard, if you want, to just occasionally spend, whether it's once a week or once a day, just a few minutes being with them. When you notice, wow, you're working really hard, you're efforting really hard, and I'm just going to be here with you whether you notice me or not. So it starts just by you bringing that loving awareness and presence to him.
And do you have any associations to his story, his belief? That he's going, if he doesn't hold it all together and keep making things happen, keep pushing forward, that everything's going to disappear. Or the little boy's going to disappear.
That's his fear. That's his fear. And so you're asking if I have any associations to that fear? Is that?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
guess I don't
Yeah.
know what that means yet. So
It means
Grounded
if
in your life.
you have any understanding of the psychodynamics, how he came about, how old is he, what was happening at that time? Is it a sense that you understand the roots of his fear?
Right.
yeah,
Because-
sure. Yeah, very young. Yeah, from age whatever 4 till 10.
And if you want to share with us, you don't have to, but if you want to share with us your understanding, that's fine, but if not.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, it had to do with my dad's raging, where he would start screaming. He would be very frustrated with something outside the house with work stuff not going well. But he'd start screaming, "God damn fucking children." And each time he would swear, he'd break something. And I knew to take my next 2 youngest brothers back into a back room and just take us out of the equation. He never hurt us. I was always, that felt like, okay, that's where the line is. And I said that to a therapist once, and she said he didn't have to. I went, okay, point well taken. But yeah, just that sense of there is no one who's going to protect me. This is me. I am the backstop for me and the next 2 brothers down. So
Right.
that sense that's where it goes back to. Yeah.
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 You're in a spaceship and you have to make the reentry just right. Otherwise, you dissolve into space, into nothingness, because there's not the anchor of father and mother. And, yeah, wow.
And I'm sure it felt like his rage was going to
Oh.
destroy
Yeah,
everything.
he didn't hurt you physically,
Right.
but he hurt that little boy emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually.
Oh, sure. Hugely so.
Yeah.
Hmm. So that kind of understanding, it helps you to then feel more compassion when you notice that you're trying so hard to get something right,
There's that little one
right?
in the closet with his brothers.
Trying to protect everybody. Yeah, from that, because rage can feel very like it's just annihilating. It doesn't have to literally even touch you to feel that annihilation sense of it. Thank you.
That's a lot. Anything in closure, Howard? I'll let you finish writing. Anything to come to close for this round?
Just that thing that Father Greg Boyle said in his book that I just was blown away by. He said, you can't be curious and judgmental at the same time.
Yeah, that's right.
That goes for outside. In other words, you idiot to another person. But that's not the only way it goes. And so just holding on to that, because I've sat with that for a number of hours already and just going, okay, if you want to sit with it again and think of, is there a special exception? Go for it. But at this point, I'm ready to call it and say, no.
Not even like 99.9, or maybe one of those pretty much 100% rules.
Right. No. For all intents and purposes,
Yeah.
it's true. So yeah.
Wow.
That's a coin that I can hold on to when I remember.
Yeah.
Thanks, you guys talking about curiosity so much in the 2 to 3 months before I read that in that book, and it just landed way, way deep inside.
Yeah. That's beautiful. There's a synchronicity in that little seed keeps growing.
And landing. You said
Yeah.
landed. Bouncing off.
Yeah.
So that's your way of landing, just to be curious.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
Yay.
It does involve being careful. It involves, stopping the manager guy. Yeah, going, even being curious about the manager guy. Going,
Yeah.
yeah. I understand what you want to try. And pause button. Anyone else in the room got an idea? Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, this has been another pleasure and a delight. Thank you each for sharing this way and letting our process deepen and mature and supporting each other in that. And we hope we'll see you in the summer term. And if you know anybody who might be interested, let them know that this is available. It's $45 for the whole thing. I don't know. I was just thinking about that. Usually, as you get older, you charge more. As we get older, we're charging less.
Yeah,
Yes.
doing the opposite,
Yeah.
and we are kind of like that anyway, so.
So,
But I did want to say that if all of you, I know there's, there are two of you that I haven't heard from, so I don't know for sure if you're going to take it, but if you take it, I'm really hoping that you'll help to seed in some of the work that we've been doing into the larger group, because I do think that it's really important. You can see how hard it is when we get into those stuck places to not just kind of take them to be the whole experience.
as opposed to a doorway and an opportunity like we experienced today, especially with you, Howard, at the end. It's like that bouncing off. That's the work. It's not a problem. That's showing us where we want to go. So it's a trailhead. So yeah. But your presence would deepen that if you do come. Just know that.
Yeah.
So to feel comfortable sharing, being open in that way in the discussion parts. Yeah.
Yes, and what I really loved is like what Rebecca said and what you guys have been doing all along, which is that to be able to ping off of other people's experiences and say, wow, that just really touched something in me, because it allows everybody to continue to feel like, oh, I'm not
The opposite of our family of
by
origins.
myself having to just deal with
It's an open system where we
Yeah.
grow and mature and are entangled in our own learning from the reciprocity with each other.
Yeah.
We started to do that with our teacher Radha, and I was just amazed. We'd do these rounds where people would share after the processes, and I was like, how is this happening? That insights are rising, and you had your process, and then someone else shares, and it's like, phew. So yeah,
Continues
it's
to.
guidance.
Yeah.
It's a field we create together. Okie dokie. Well, have a great day. We're not going to stay on, Malik, because we got to eat something.
But thank you so much. It's always such a precious one for me to share such intimacy together. So thank you, each of you, for doing that. Yahoo.